Hey guys, welcome back to another Weird Wednesday. I'm Ashers, and this is
Dr. X.
Dr. X, and we are doing it.
We
Um,
are.
Dr. X, how was your weekend?
Oh, well, my family was, as you can see, I'm back to using the Dr. X moniker. We've been in hiding after last week's episode,
Oh, Jesus.
living in spider holes and eating off prairie dogs.
Pitiful.
It's just staying off the grid,
Well,
you know.
I mean, I'm not even gonna.
Whatever it takes to survive, right? To live another day. No, my weekend was good. I saw Scream 6. You saw Scream 6.
I did.
What did you think? If you want to hear my in-depth thoughts on Scream 6, you should listen to this week's Y2K movies. We did Scream 6 and 65. We did a double feature whose theme was shit we saw this weekend. So, but Scream 6, you saw Scream 6. What'd you think?
It's just Scream 2 for the modern day.
Ooh, that's a spicy take.
No, it's not. It's true. I mean, what do you mean a spicy? You watched it. It's just.
But here's the thing. I hated, and I go into this in depth in Y2K movies. I am not a fan of Scream 2. I think
like
Scream 2.
That's fine.
Scream 2, and I'm gonna play the age card on this one. Being somebody who was like 16 when Scream 1 came out, the perfect age for it, really. Scream 2 took the wind out of my sails. Scream 2 was not the follow-up that I was hoping for.
Really?
And it's probably in retrospect not a bad movie, but I can still tangibly feel the disappointment in that being in that theater opening night and watching Scream 2, and they fucking kill Randy. And that was like, I wanted to throw my shoe at the screen and fucking leave. I did not like Scream 2. The Scream sequels, I didn't like Scream 2. Scream 3 was just fucking weird with Jay and Silent Bob in it and stuff. I didn't get what was happening there. These new movies I like. This new trilogy that they're doing, where they took the Scream franchise and they inserted in attractive Latinas. I think that's a great move for any franchise to make. If you have a franchise that you want to interject life into, put hot ass Latina chicks in it and fucking print money. So I'm a big fan of where this Scream franchise is. And now I dug the New York stuff. I thought the bodega and the subway scenes were very New York and were very well executed. And I would say that this was one of the better sequels. Maybe not my favorite, but I dug it. I really did.
You have a very interesting take on movies, Pato. But always unpopular.
That's what they tell me.
That's all right. No, I felt very differently about it. I like this core cast. I like this new core cast. I do. I just think that they need to take all those characters and put them into fucking something else that's not Scream. And just leave Scream the hell alone. Like, it was fine the way it was. Leave it alone. Didn't need it anymore. And that's just, at the end of the day, that's how I feel about it. That killer could have been dressed up as fucking anybody else, and it would have made more sense than having it be Ghostface. It doesn't make sense having it be Ghostface. And, I didn't like that. I don't like that very much. I'm fine with the actual action. Some people took issue with Ghostface having a gun. I did not.
Yeah, that bodega scene was fucking solid. It was really good.
That was good.
Yeah.
Right. I like all the chase scenes and the fights. They're good. And what I don't like, though, was this weird fucking teaser that this was going to be something kind of supernatural, because that fucking didn't happen, and the trailer straight up fucking lies to you. Like, straight up fucking lies.
Well, so I didn't see the last Scream 5. That was kind of when all my heart shenanigans were going on. So I didn't get a chance to see that until it hit streaming. And I know I asked one of my friend of the show, Mike Vanderbilt. I said, "Hey, how was Scream 5? Is it supernatural?" Because they suggested the same thing with that too.
Yeah, and it kind of is.
He said, "No, obviously the whole with the Billy Loomis stuff. Could it be a ghost or something, or is it just her own twisted mind?" Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I'll let you say your piece.
In the trailer, there is a scene where the bodega guy goes to shoot at Ghostface, and Ghostface fucking disappears. Completely fucking, not ducks. They don't duck. They don't run off to the side. Ghostface fucking disappears. That is not what happened. They lied. I mean, and we straight up see Ghostface duck like a normal fucking person. And that was straight up a lie.
Mm-hmm.
So I take issue with that because here's this trailer. It's hyping it up. It's like a fucking ghost face like you have never goddamn seen before. And it ends up being fucking somebody that you have never met before. The entire franchise doesn't fucking matter across 6 fucking movies. Somebody that you have no clue who they are ends up being a killer. It's that sucks. I mean, they do this. They did the same shit. Reminds me a lot of Halloween Ends. It's not as bad as Halloween Ends. It's definitely a much better movie than that. But that's what it reminds me of. You're going to set us up, us, the fans of this original series here, make it seem like this is an unforgettable, can't miss fucking movie, and then that's what you're going to deliver. No, it was bad. It wasn't good. Now, again, it's not the worst movie I've ever seen, but I will never be watching it again. So, and it's just
Yeah.
Scream 2. It's just Scream 2. The whole plot is just Scream 2.
There was, I want to just say one more thing about the Scream franchise, and then we can move on. I feel like they are unnecessarily protective of their protagonists. For a serial killer movie, for a slasher movie, excuse me, a surprisingly large amount of their characters survive. You know, they don't really kill them off. Everybody that I don't want to give away because it's kind of a spoiler. A lot of people that walked into a lot of like characters that walked into the events of Scream 6, they walk out of it. You know, if you just look at the first 5 movies, the reverence they showed for those original 3, Dewey, Gale, and Sydney, those people kept surviving over and over again. You didn't see that in Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
Nancy might survive one movie, but she's going to die in the next. Kristen might survive 3, but she's going to die in 4. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, this is the first movie where there's no Sidney Prescott, and it's not because she's dead. It's just because.
right. It's because she's just living, off camera. And they keep doing that in these Scream movies where they keep bringing these people, these people keep surviving. And it's like, that's not what we're here for. We're here to watch people die. And you're supposed to kill the majority of them, and you're gonna let 1 or 2 live. And in this time around, they pretty much let all of them live. And I don't know how you misunderstand the assignment of making a slasher movie where you're just gonna let everyone fucking live. Not
Yeah.
everybody. Obviously, there's a body count. Don't get me wrong. People die in Scream 6. I'm not gonna try to, I'm not, selling you a false bill of goods. But not as many as could have.
It's nobody that you care about.
I don't give a shit about. I don't care about people in real life. I certainly don't care about
Oh
imaginary
my
fucking
god.
people.
Just as far as characters go, I mean,
Well, let me ask you this because we both had a similar theatrical experience because I brought my daughter and you brought your daughter too.
yeah.
What did our daughters think of it?
So my daughter still hasn't seen any other Scream movie. This is her first Scream movie.
Okay.
Now I did watch some YouTube videos with her to get her caught up to speed because initially she didn't want to go with me to go see this movie. And then she changed her
Okay.
mind. And I was like, okay, so you kind of have to know. And this was Friday. She changed her mind. I was like, well, you kind of have to know what's been going on up until this point. Because, again, here I was expecting some type of fucking groundbreaking, like, this is the end all be all. Let's end this shit. Let's bring it full circle kind of movie. It's not that. But anyway, so I caught her up to speed on, like, what was going on. Okay. While we were at the Frogman Festival, and I was hanging out with the Waylands and Heather Mosier. Okay. Heather told me a story about somebody pranking somebody else. Apparently, there's a website that you can go onto. It's called helloghostface.com, and you can have Ghostface call people.
Mm-hmm. I had them do that to you
Did you?
this time around. I don't know if it went through, but yeah.
Yeah, it didn't go through.
Jim Jan sent me the thing.
Yeah, it didn't go through.
Okay.
Well, I did it to my daughter. Okay. And so I was out and about with my daughter, okay, and I had put the call in like way earlier. She also got a brand new iPhone, so she's on top of the world right now.
Look at you.
I know.
Yeah. Taking that fat Patreon money and
Oh yeah.
buying people iPhones left and right.
Oh yeah, that Patreon money. Let me tell you, it's just flowing.
Right.
So she's been enjoying the phone. Well, I put the call in way earlier, and then had a couple of errands to run, and she wanted to go with me. Well, one of the stores I had to go to, she wanted to stay. It was a pharmacy. She wanted to stay in the car. I'm like, okay. And the call had not gone through earlier. Well, I'm in the pharmacy and she's texting me. Oh my God, Mama. Ghostface just called me. She's freaking out. Scared the shit out of her. So I had him call a couple times, and she's because he says something different each time, and she was really scared. And then the big right before we went to the movie, big reveal, she was really freaking out. I was like, "Ah, it's me," and she was very upset. But anyway, so it was a whole experience for her. Then we go to the movie, right? We watched the movie. Um, she enjoyed it. I mean, she had no complaints. She liked it. She sat through the whole thing. I don't think I mean, she wants to watch the rest of the movies now. But I don't think it's turned her into a diehard horror movie fan. Scream, the original Scream did that for a lot of people. Turned a lot of people onto horror. Um, for the very same reasons of what it was trying to accomplish, and that was, taking a dig at horror movies, right? People were sick of
Mm.
horror movies. So when they found this movie that fucking made fun of itself, and that's what it was, it kind of revitalized horror again. And yeah, Scream 6 ain't that for anybody. We like Cocaine Bear a lot better. Cocaine Bear's top. Why don't we rank real quick? Let's do a quick Scream ranking, Pato. The best Scream movie.
Scream 1.
Scream 1, yeah, definitely Scream 1. The second best.
So I did this with Danny on Y2K Movies, and I originally said this one or 5 or 6, and I think I'm gonna amend that to say 4.
Okay. Scream
4
4.
is my number 2. Yeah.
My number 2 is 2.
Okay.
Yep. Number 3.
I would 3 and 4. I'd say would be 5 and 6.
Number 3, I would go number 3, but mostly because number 3 is a bad movie, but that was the first Scream movie that I saw in theaters, so it's nostalgic for me.
Sure. Okay.
Okay, number 4.
Once again, 5 or 6 are kind of interchangeable in that 3 and 4
Yeah.
zone.
Yeah.
Okay.
So mine's number 5. It would be Scream 5 after 3. What's the next one? 5.
5. I would do number 3.
Number 3, and then I would do 4, and then Dead Last I would do 6.
Dead Last I would do 2.
So
How opposite we are. Look at that.
very very opposite. So yeah, I saw that. What else did you do this weekend? Anything else?
I also saw 65, but to hear me talk about that while listen to this week's Y2K Movies, which already dropped as of right now, kind of just chilled out. I have after today, I am going to be spending the next week and a half hammering away at my Gary Con Dungeons and Dragons game that I'll be hosting in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. I don't know, what is it, the 24th or the 25th? I know it's sold out anyway, so you can't go. But yeah, that's basically got to be like all my free time is going to be working on that. So this weekend was kind of the break before that. So just did like the movies and hung out with the kids and played video games around the house. I got that Sonic Frontiers game. It's like an open world Sonic game,
Okay.
and it's relatively fun. I know a lot of it got kind of like smashed on the internet a little bit. It's not perfect. It's not like Super Mario Odyssey or anything, but it's for an open world Sonic game, it's relatively amusing. And then did find out that in April 22nd, Saturday, April 22nd, Record Store Day, I will be DJing. Be the return of DJ Oi, which is my old DJ name. Friend of the show, Mike Vanderbilt, will be on the sticks, and your old buddy Pato, aka DJ Oi, will be on the ones and twos. So, Record Store Day, Rock Island Public House, come out and listen to me spin records. I'll be playing the beats that move your feet. And I also wanted to mention in June, we got, what's it called? Monster Fest, right?
Yeah.
And and then we have Withville, and now it looks like on Wednesdays We Talk Weird will be vending at the Chicago Paranormal Convention, being held where else but Countryside, Illinois, Saturday June 17th from noon till 7 p.m. And we'll be making our first Chicagoland convention appearance. Coming out, buy a T-shirt and a book. I'll have to. It's only 20 minutes away from my house, and I got to say this: I know that there's Chicago peeps that listen to this show. Please be my Red and Ann. Please. I already talked to Candace. I'm like, I need a booth bunny for this. Can you come out and be a booth bunny at least? Like, friends of the show, Canadian Sarah, all the Ashleys that listen to the show. There's so many of them. Please, fucking June 17th, Countryside, Illinois, Chicago Paranormal Convention from noon to 7 p.m. I think it's like $1 to get in. It's super cheap. There'll be tons of vendors there. There'll be tons of. I've noticed Chicago Paranormal Conventions are more into occult stuff. There won't be as many people selling cryptid beanie babies or anything. It's going to be a lot of crystals and spell bags and shit. So come on out. It should be a good time. And
Ev-
on Wednesdays we talk weird. We'll be there. I'll have more details to come. It's not until June.
Everybody and their mother making candles. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, candles with those like Mexican superhero candles with like the giant hands on them and shit. Like I buy those. I have a stock of those at my house. I have one that says like the hand of God. And it's this green candle with like this crazy green hand sticker on it, and I use it. I burn that one when I want to keep my pimp hand strong. So that was it.
And
Let
then
me think
also,
again.
I'll be at the Blacklight Alien Invasion Party at the Secret Chamber House of Oddities and Artwork on May the 6th. So,
Nice. Where's
come
this
to,
at?
this is local. This is in Fairborn, Ohio. I've only
Mm.
talked about it on the show, on the Patreon. I don't know.
Then your friend, your that chick that runs the dungeon, right?
Yeah, Pat doesn't listen to me. Now the dungeon isn't a dungeon anymore. It's a haunted museum now.
I hang on your every fucking word. What are you talking about?
And you would know it's a haunted museum, and I'm having a live podcast right in the haunted museum.
I just wanted to make sure I was thinking of the right place. I was asking a question so you could provide further information. That was it.
So I'll be
But good.
hanging out in the sex dungeon / haunted museum. No,
Talking
really.
about your genitals.
You know, there's a dead guy down there. There's haunted dolls. There's witches totems. There's all kinds of weird shit down there.
Nice.
Come hang out and see the dead guy. It'll be a great time. Come tell me your alien stories. I want to hear them. And then afterwards, there's going to be a whole alien invasion after party at the Phoenix Theater right there. I don't know what movies they're showing for legal purposes. I can't say, but there will be a host, and it'll be a great time. So just
And this is May what?
May the 6th.
Nice.
Fairborn, Ohio, Halloween City, Ohio. Come on
The
down.
day after Cinco de Mayo.
The day after Cinco de Mayo. Yeah. So come
Cinco de Seis.
bring me margaritas.
Seis de Mayo. I'm sorry.
Do you
Seis
are you
de
are you
Mayo.
a Spanish speaker? Is that
Only by injection.
anyway? I got laid today. It was great. I didn't. I lied, but I did go to the gynecologist. So it's the closest
Did you
I've
scissor
had
your ankles around them when they came
I
in?
had in a while. It's a lady. But let me tell you how weird an experience going to the gynecologist is. Let's talk about that for a minute because,
Please, let's.
well, here's the reason why, Pato, is because 73% of our listenership are men. So
Okay.
I know you guys don't quite understand this, even though I know you get a finger up your ass every once in a while, and that that's got to be awkward. I got to do this every fucking year. I got to do shit every year. I got to go to this gynecologist. She sticks a big old instrument in my vagina. It's great, and then she sticks in 2 fingers, count them, 2 fingers. Okay, and takes her other hand and presses down, just like any of my boyfriends would. And I'm supposed to just sit there and have casual conversations while she talks about how tall I am. I mean, it is a fucking wild world that we live in. I'll tell you what, people. But, if you have not been to your doctors lately, you should definitely go do that. Nothing's wrong with me in particular, but, just it's important to be healthy,
Sure.
So I did that and made it fun and made it weird. I wanted to ask her, like, is anybody, like, into this? Like, do you ever, like, get people in here that, like, this is their kink?
They start getting wet.
Yeah, like, and they're, like, moaning and like into it. Do they tell you that they're into it? But I didn't want to make it weird because then she would probably think that I was into it. So-
I know when boys hit 5th grade, that's when we start getting checked for hernias.
Yeah.
And I knew that was coming up, my 5th grade physical, and I was super worried about it. And I was very, very afraid that when he touched my balls to check for a hernia, that I was going to get an erection in his hand.
Oh yeah.
And in retrospect, I don't know why I was so concerned about that, because whatever.
So what if you did? Right. I mean,
If what was it gonna do? Fucking,
I'm sure it
Um,
happens.
I don't think so, because I think that when you're in that moment, you're not you're not aroused. Like, you're not just because your junk is being manipulated doesn't mean that it's going to get
Well, that's
engorged.
true.
You know what I mean? So you're talking about, like, yeah, technically this woman's spreading your labia apart and she's looking at all your shit and whatever. But, like, is it the slightest bit erotic? Like,
It's not very
no.
sexy. No, the whole time
R-
I'm like, don't clench, don't clench, don't
Like,
do it,
don't
don't do
fart.
it.
That's what I'd be worried about.
I'm not worried
Yeah.
about. I mean, I got more control of my butthole, I guess, than I do.
That's a goddamn lie.
How is that a lie?
Anal podcast queen. No, I don't know.
Because I
It's
do a
just,
lot of anal.
yeah, but I'm sorry.
It's not near. I mean, I won't get into the
I'm
semantics,
going off of what you tell me. I ain't
but
just fucking lobbing out accusations.
I don't have a
But
loose butthole. If that's what you're implying,
right.
I've never had an injury. Everything works great. So, uh, thankful for that.
Jesus.
Anyway, I didn't mean to spend this long on this bit. It was not supposed to be this lengthy. But that's also what I said at the gynecologist earlier today. Anyway, again, I also went and saw Scream 3 or Scream 6, whatever, fucking Scream 20. I
Mm-hmm.
also tried to sit down and watch Pulp Fiction. You know, like I said, I've been trying to watch all this shit that I've never seen before,
Mm-hmm.
and I couldn't do it. I turned it off. Sorry,
Oh my god.
sorry, sorry. It was boring. Nothing about it caught my attention, and it's crazy because it's like there's parts about it that I enjoyed, but I just couldn't do any more of it.
How far did you get?
He was on the date with that girl,
Oh, okay.
whatever his name is. I can't remember his fucking name.
Mia Wallace.
John
Well, Vincent
Travolta.
Vega. Vincent Vega.
Well, I don't know that much, but
Trust me, it's Vincent Vega. I've seen that movie. That was the first movie that I ever. I mean, honestly, probably one of the only. I saw that movie on my own. I sat through that movie 3 times in the theater when it came out.
wow,
And yeah, one time I went on my own and I just sat there and watched Pulp Fiction. Like, before stuff came out on video or there was streaming, you could only see shit in the theater. And Pulp Fiction was fucking huge. I don't. It wasn't the movie that made me want to make movies. I had already gotten bitten by that bug with Clerks, but it was definitely like some next level shit. You know what I mean? It was like hearing the Misfits or the Ramones or the
sure,
Clash or something for the first time. It
sure,
was but I can see why, when I was going through my recovery thing about a year ago, I rewatched a lot of those Quentin Tarantino movies. Pulp Fiction, I could see how watching it for the first time now you would just kind of shrug your shoulders at it. Did you see Reservoir Dogs yet?
no,
That holds up a little bit better.
yeah,
Um,
I'll probably. I mean, I'll probably try to finish Pulp Fiction. It's just it's so long, and
it is,
you know,
yeah.
with it kind of losing my attention because it sucks because I have seen parts of it and I get the references and things, and it seems like it'd be right up my alley, and so I'm disappointed. It disappointed me because it just wasn't landing. But maybe I just haven't gotten to the point that lands yet. I don't know. I'll try, but
Yeah, it's the so that's the first story was the date, and the second story is Bruce Willis's boxer story. And that's a fucking curveball. And then the third story kind of brings it back to the opening
yeah,
scene with with the shoot with them in the
sure,
apartment and everything. And
sure,
it's very, yeah, it's got a unique time jumps around a little bit. I think when you see the whole movie and you see how the pieces fit together, that makes it a little bit more interesting.
yeah.
But
Yeah, we'll see. Like I said, I'll continue to try to watch it and see how it goes. But I did watch Mysteries and Monsters, Small Town Monsters, little these little documentaries I've been putting up on their YouTube channel here. They just did one. It's called Mountain of God UFO Cult,
I watched that too.
and it is about a UFO cult based around Mount Olympus.
Bunch of nudists.
I love a good UFO cult story.
Yeah, I need to
You know,
start one.
I'm surprised we haven't yet. Maybe we
I
have.
well, I never told you guys this, but when I came across those aliens as a child, they gave me the secrets of the universe, and I will share them to you if you get naked and hang out with me or
Yeah, just
something.
get naked and hang out.
Yeah,
I mean,
side over your fucking your bank accounts and
yeah, this. Well,
or
I'd never heard of this. Had you ever heard of this particular topic?
oh god no no.
Yeah, me neither. This was very, very out there. It was a lot of fun watching Eli Watson do it. What I like about it is that it feels very genuine, right? These are all just real people. It's not big and glamorous, and it's definitely a little bit different than some of their regular documentaries, because like this was just some guy who had a podcast who decided to investigate something, and I can relate.
It did feel very and I mean this in a good way, but it felt very Hellier-esque in that respect about how this story just kind of the beginning of the story just kind of wafted across his peripheral, and he picked up on it and he went with it, and it took him in a different direction than he expected it to.
Yeah.
There was a letter from they were going through Kenneth Arnold's personal effects. He had been sent a letter from this organization, and when they further investigated the organization, they realized that it was kind of like a one of those early 40s or 1940s 1950s UFO sex cults that were popping up all over
Yeah.
California. And yeah, and just kind of looked into it, and there was various claims about the Noah's Ark being, there's a lot of like there's a lot of interesting tidbits and theories and side notes and little paths that it kind of jots down for a second. And I don't know anything about it. I mean, you just texted me this and you're like, hey, watch this for this week's show. So is this like a TV show that they do on YouTube where every episode is
um
something different? Because I saw this was episode 2
right, so this is only episode 2, so I'm assuming that going forward they're going to do more of these, as long as they're worth doing,
with like
so
random stuff or like with different people, or is it going to be all about this guy?
it's gonna be, yeah, different people.
Okay.
Different situations. So mysteries and monsters. I mean, just like any other show, it's like unsolved mysteries. Just like I, I don't know. There's tons of shows like this. But it seems like they're deciding to put them out on YouTube, which I think is actually not a bad idea at all. But yeah, so I mean, definitely check it out. I mean, if you listen to the show and you don't watch Small Town Monsters, I don't know what to tell you anymore.
I didn't know it was actually a TV show. I
Um,
thought it was just like a series of documentaries.
what, Small Town Monsters, or
Yeah.
Small Town Monsters is a production company.
Right. And they do a series of documentaries.
They put out tons and tons of different documentaries, right? Right.
Right. But
Uh,
this is them trying to do episodic content.
right. And they have done episodic content with other things.
Okay.
They work on a bunch of stuff. So it sounds like you got to catch up, Pato.
I know I watched one of their documentaries that Tobias was in.
That was the Lake Michigan Mothman.
Right. And somebody else was wearing a fedora in that. Do people wear fedoras in all of their stuff?
Yeah, it's required.
Okay.
It's part of
That,
the business attire. You have to wear a fedora. Um,
that's what I thought.
or
Okay.
they have a whole, like, they've got, like, like the dressing room or whatever. Well, the whole top rack is just different fedoras for people to pick
That
out.
they fit you with, yeah.
Yeah. So that's,
That's what, you
truthfully.
know what, honestly? That's what we should sell at these conventions is fucking fedoras. Oh my God.
Agreed. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you can't be respected in this field unless you're wearing one. You got to have a
On
hat,
Wednesdays we talk weird sticker on it.
my dude. You got to have a hat on. No, I think we should have a giant feather, big old
Why?
feather sticking out of
Now
that
it's
thing.
now it's just a pimp hat. What?
Well, hey, you said it, not me.
It's
That
just,
way you could be a paranormal investigator and Dolomite,
at the same time.
right?
Takes care of all of your needs.
Multitask. Multitask.
Whether you're fucking hunting monsters or hunting snatch.
You know, one of the Thanks. One of the things that I forgot to mention about Frogman Fest is I forget the name of the organization. Is it CAPS or it's BAPS or it's actually and it's people are going to be at the Chicago Paranormal Con. So let me get their name right because I'll run into them there. But it was the Wisconsin CAPS, Cryptid Anomalies and the Paranormal Society, right?
Yeah.
The Wisconsin Caps had a booth at Frogman Festival, and they were selling uh, squatch and sticks. Do you know
Okay.
what these things are?
Are they just walking sticks?
No, 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 no. That would be too pedestrian. They're about they're about 3 feet long, maybe, and they look like someone made them in wood shop. And there's a hole through the handle that has like a leather strap that goes through, so you can swing it or you can like put your hand through it and hold on to it. And they're for banging on trees to call out Sasquatches.
Okay.
You
That's
know,
popular. Wood knocks.
would not. There you go. And Tobias got one, and I was like, because his booth was right next door. So I was like, "Where'd you get that?" And he's like, "Oh, it's a squatch and stick." And so when you go out in the woods, you could summon Bigfoot. And I'm like, "That's how it works. That works." He goes, "Yeah." So I went, and they were only $5. I went and I grabbed one. And I figure if I'm going to give this monster hunting thing a go, how can you hunt monsters if you don't have a stick to call Sasquatches?
Wow,
So
that's true.
I thought it was absolutely brilliant, and the good people at the CAPS, Wisconsin CAPS, Cryptids Anomalies, the Paranormal Society, they were selling those things, and the CAPS people will be at the Chicago Paranormal Con too. So I don't
I
know if
think
they'll
I
have those
am.
things for sale.
I think I may be mutuals with them on somewhere on social, on specifically Facebook.
Right?
But I don't know. So I apologize in advance. We didn't really talk at the Frogman Festival. Um, Sorry, but maybe we'll talk at the Chicago thing if I'm there. So
Sure.
we'll see. But I don't remember what I was going to say outside of
News? Or do you have something else you want to talk about?
what we were just talking about.
The Small Town Monsters TV show web series.
Oh yeah, well right, just check it out. Search up Small Town Monsters on YouTube. It just came out yesterday, I believe. Well, Sunday, and so just go watch it. Just go watch it.
Yeah, I recommend it. I listened. I actually, I watched it kind of. I had it playing on my cell phone as I drove home from work today, so it kind of worked good as a podcast too, because there's some visuals that you got to
Yeah,
pay
you don't
attention to.
necessarily
But
have to watch. Yeah,
yeah, it worked out good. It's an interesting story.
yeah, that guy is probably nuts. The UFO cult leader, but like Mount Olympus has a lot of stuff to it. And actually, Eli Watson is like leading on shit like that. So if you don't follow him already, do that. He does a lot of
Yeah,
stuff.
he's nuts, but he also convinced people to give him all their money and then hang out with him naked.
He did.
I have not figured that out yet. I know how to give people all my money and then they hang out with me naked, but not the other way around.
I understand. I'm
And
a woman, and I haven't figured it out yet.
that's the trick right there. Give me your money and then take your clothes off.
Yeah.
You crack that code. That's the key to people will be talking about you 60 years later. You know what I mean? You crack that nut. Motherfuckers be talking to you on webisodes from as long as the internet's around. They'll be wearing fedoras, fucking musing over how you did what you did.
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was that. I didn't really have any news that I wanted to talk about, except for I did get an update last week from Red. In case anybody else was curious, Red has an any belly button.
Okay, so
Uh,
he's like everyone else.
he's like everyone else. Yeah.
Oh, well, not quite right. Not quite.
We could like try to tie a string inside of it and pull it out.
If I started a cult, I would definitely need him to be the person to lead like morning calisthenics. You know what I mean? He get everyone out there jogging and praying in the morning.
You can't do that because Red already has a cult, so he's already he's
That's
already a
somebody
cult leader.
else's cult. I'm giving him a chance to get on the ground floor of his own cult.
Mm, I suppose so. You got to talk to him. You got to
I
pitch
know.
your
I
idea to
know.
him. I can't speak for him.
No, I know. The one bit of news I have comes from Friday, and this story made the rounds all over the place. It was in the Military Times. It was in MSN. Official government report claims that there may be an alien mothership inside our solar system. The Pentagon recently released a draft report about the ongoing UFO mystery yesterday, talking about last Thursday. The media is all over it. While stories of Chinese spy balloons being shot down continue to baffle the public, there are a few ideas even scarier: that the UFOs are all coming from someplace else, someplace massive. The most explosive bit of new information in the government's report involves the idea of an alien mothership hiding out somewhere inside our solar system. The report, written in part by Sean Kirkpatrick, director of the Pentagon's All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, states an artificial interstellar object could potentially be a parent craft that releases many small probes during its close passage to Earth, an operational construct not too dissimilar from NASA missions. The in part is instructive here. The report draft was also co-authored with Harvard astronomer Abraham Loeb, a controversial figure in the UFO movement. His credentials are without question, but he made waves a few years back for suggesting that an anomalous object that had entered our solar system might actually be a ship carrying intelligence from another galaxy. Dubbed Mau Mau, Scout in Hawaiian by researchers. Hawaiian! What do we know about Hawaii?
I know
Stay
that they put
tuned.
pineapple on their pizza.
Yeah, stay tuned to this month's Weird World if it ever the fuck comes out, and you'll fucking hear everything we know about Hawaii. Yeah, so the object, which I remember being in the news, dubbed a Wawa Scout in Hawaiian by researchers, the object was a quarter-mile long, cigar-shaped, with properties that baffled scientists. For one thing, it appeared to be accelerating as it slingshot around the sun. For another, it was incredibly dense, without the telltale dust marks that most comets and asteroids have. Loeb strongly suggested that we were looking at a piece of alien technology, supposition he seems to be repeating in this report. So I remember that a couple of years ago when that thing flew through the solar system and people were scratching their heads about what the fuck it actually was. And now they're seeming to tie it into this potential theory that there may be a mothership out there somewhere, and these flying orbs that we see, some of the UAPs are physical crafts, you know what I mean? They're very craft like, and then some of them just are balls of light that do strange shit. And the idea is being that maybe those balls of light that do strange shit, they're actually just scouts, and that the alien mothership is somewhere close by. So, but once again, all of this stuff lends to the narrative that we are being visited by straight up extraterrestrials from another planet. These are physical beings that travel space to get here. And, every time we seem to try to move past that into a different set of explanations, we kind of get sucked back to that, original theory that these entities that we're encountering are aliens and they fly here from another planet, which, as antiquated as it sounds, as early as this past week, we have the Pentagon supposing that narrative is correct. So, Ashers, what do you think?
I take issue with it because I don't agree with that. I read it. You sent it to me, but I read it. I mean, it's just a theory, that really doesn't have any other backing or any real solid evidence. It's just like, well, they could be this, right? Sure. I guess they could be. They could be ancient humans. They could be ultra terrestrial. They could be fucking
right, but they're not
dinosaurs that
saying any
learn
of
how to
that.
use the
This is
planet.
I understand they're not making definitive statements of what they are, but they, you got to assume they're also being very careful about what they suppose they could be, and this is what they feel comfortable theorizing about in a public square. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm sorry. I'll let you finish.
No, it's okay. I mean, that's really all I have to say about it. I'm not impressed with it. I mean, I haven't been with any of whatever. The only thing that I've been impressed with the Pentagon saying was that they had debris and then never talked about it ever again. And I will continue to bring that up as many times as I can. because that's the
Right.
only thing that tickles my fancy. I don't care about what their theories are on these things. I don't care. I care about evidence at this point. I don't need to. I don't need any like further proof of like, do aliens exist? I know that aliens exist. I just need like more. I just need something else. And this isn't it for me. This doesn't get me hot. Doesn't get me going. I'm bored by it, you know.
Aliens
Um,
do exist, and they want you to give me all your money. They want you to be. They want you to get hot. They want you to get hot and do my laundry and
naked.
walk my dogs.
Yeah. Yeah. Naked. Right, exactly.
You're gonna come out here for that Chicago Paranormal Convention and get like sucked into the cult. You're never gonna go home.
At one point I was talking to somebody at the Prog Band Festival and it was like dawning on me of like what I was saying and how I was explaining things, and I was like, "Holy shit! I just described a cult to you." I'm very sorry. We're not a cult, but that's something a cult would say. But we're not a cult. They probably listened to the show. They enjoyed that quite a bit. But I think I said that even during my talk. I'm like, God, this sounds nuts. I don't know. I remember I stopped myself and I'm just like, Jesus, this sounds very unintelligent and unattractive. But hey, you guys believe me, right? It's terrible. But yeah, I just like I said, I'm just not impressed by any of that. I mean, again, like I come on here, I'm like, I don't have any news this week. Canada started their own UFO research team. The Canadian government did. Okay, so so I do that too, So I just like I said, me personally, I think I'm burnt out on things like that. I think it just doesn't. It's just not exciting for
It's
me.
not going anywhere. You know what I mean?
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
It doesn't. It's kind of like it feels like it should be a bombshell because you have a Pentagon report and you have Harvard scientists and you have this and that, but you're like so desensitized to realize that you could attach all these different names and all these agencies to news coming out about UFOs now,
Yeah.
and it just doesn't go anywhere.
No, I'm standing too close to the mothership to care,
Yeah.
or whatever, whatever the fuck is going on. It just yeah, it just doesn't excite me anymore. Oh wow, isn't that interesting that they said it could possibly, maybe it might be. This is one theory that it could maybe be a mothership, and it's maybe a possibility that some of these things that we see come from that mothership. Okay, show me the mothership. That's where I'm at. I
Wow.
I'm
You
just
don't gotta
not.
shit all over my news story. At least I tried, bitch.
Hey, you tried. You brought something. Don't call me a bitch, though, but you tried.
you, you didn't get
But
nothing. You didn't come up with nothing.
I didn't bring
Like
any news. Nope.
pissing all over my Cheerios. Jesus.
If you are excited about it, and if you,
No,
as the
I,
listeners, are excited about it, and you find it interesting, that's okay. People talked about it. So clearly I'm in the wrong, but I also don't like Pulp Fiction, so what do I know? So
I got two shout outs I wanted to give.
sure.
Can I do shout outs? Okay. First one goes to a podcast that spends so much time on Paranormal Magazine's top 10 that they ought to start paying rent. Of course, your friends and ours, Blue Room Insight. Obviously, they're friends of the shows, but their most recent episode is very, very good. Um, it's it's so good that I had to give them a shout out on this week's show. It borderlines performance art. Uh, it was Daniel drank a whole bunch of drugs, and
Oh,
you can listen to it as it kicks in through the progression of the show to where he becomes an absolute raving madman towards the end of it. And I don't know, it was performance art. It was Hunter S. Thompson. It was very entertaining, and I'd say that it was the Tihan or Tehran Iranian UFO thing, and but it was all over the place, and there was great back and forth with the sidekicks. One of his co-hosts, the dude Darius, had recently spent some time on the inside, and she was sharing his prison stories, which I always appreciate a good prison story, and definitely look forward to hanging out with those guys at Withville and comparing prison tats and talking about the judges that sent us up. And it was a good time had by all. Second podcast I wanted to bring up is if you remember last week's episode, we talked about the Bizarro on Wednesdays we talk weird podcast. The people that came up and started talking to us, and they looked like a multiverse version of us. And I didn't remember who they were. I lost their business cards. However, this weekend I went to Mr. Sub, which is my favorite sub place here in Chicago, and I pulled out my Mr. Sub frequent sub buyer card because they punch it, and when you get 10 punches, then you get a free sub. And when I pulled out my Mr. Sub Club membership card, their business card fell out. So that was how much I enjoyed my interaction with these people at Frog Fest, that I put their business card right next to my Mr. Sub Club card. Okay. So the podcast in question is Cult Talks Conspiracy. And you can find them on Twitter at Cult Talk Net. And they do, it looks like that's a whole network, and they do a bunch of different shows. But I listened to their most recent episode, which was about Robert Shaver and all of that stuff. And it really made me want to do a Robert Shaver episode. But I want to do a very specific take on it because I noticed a lot of similarities between Robert Shaver and the stories that he wrote for Amazing Fantasy Magazine or Amazing Tales Magazine, and John Norman and his Gorean saga. And I know that we've kind of talked about gore stuff here and there. I've mentioned it before, but I think it really does deserve its own episode. And I would love to combine both of those topics into one episode and do an episode on that in the future. So we'll see. But definitely check both those shows out. Cult Talks Conspiracy and Blue Room Inside. Give them a listen.
Wow. Wow. Those are pretty good shout outs, I suppose. I've never heard of these people. I am looking them up. I guess I will do that later. But okay, wonderful. I mean, I know about Blue Room Insight, but the other people, the bizarro version of us.
Yeah, no, it was eerie. It was like looking into a circus mirror or something. I don't know.
Is there show anything like our show?
It's a little bit different, but I mean, it's a male and female co-host, and they talk about stuff.
And of course, they're into wrestling, so I can't say I'm surprised.
Are they? How do you know they're into wrestling?
Because I'm looking at their Twitter. They went to some wrestling thing.
Into some wrestling thing. Oh yeah.
Or something.
And then, do you see the animated versions? Yeah, because she kind of looks like you.
She looks absolutely nothing like me.
Well, I mean, she's a girl.
That's not what. She goes to the gynecologist, so
yeah. I mean, I assume that. Hey, that puts her more. That puts you more in her camp than mine.
Oh my god! It turns out she's more like you. She's like your fucking spitting image, personality wise.
Oh God help her if she was. No, she's not. I listened to because I listened to one of their shows today.
Oh, okay. Well, fair enough. Anyway, Pato says check them out. So
I do.
Check them out. So I know that we kind of dropped the ball here, and it is the we're like halfway into March, right? We got 3 more Wednesdays, 2 more. How many more Wednesdays do we have in March? We have 3 more Wednesdays in March.
Mm-hmm. This one and then 2 others.
And 2 others. And but I decided, hey, you know what? It's March. People do this thing. Sports ball people do this thing. I thought that we'd have a little March Monster Madness, right? Right? So we have a fun month of just talking about monsters in various forms. So I wanted to kick it off with a good old-fashioned monster attack. Pato, you ever been to Pensacola? You never been to Florida, right? We talked about that. Oh, you've been. You go to Disney all the time.
Yeah, just the Orlando stuff. I haven't gone to like
Florida.
The Floridas. Yeah.
Gotcha. What do you know about the sea serpents in Florida?
Nothing. This story was completely unknown to me, and I was blown away.
Yeah.
By the not to get too far ahead of ourselves, because I know I have a tendency to do that. But
yeah, we gotta tell story.
There's a fucking body count here, and that is unheard of from one of these run-ins with a cryptid. You know what I mean? You don't normally get that. I feel like most Bigfoot sightings, people run away and escape with their lives. And not so much here.
There are monster attacks, but let's be honest here, and I've said this before. There's probably more than we know about, right? Probably because everybody dies during the monster attack, and it's not like Bigfoot or whoever comes out and it's like, "Oh yeah, I killed that fucking guy," you know.
Uh,
they just they just go on. But this one is a fun one. I don't see a lot of people talk about it. That is, of course, the 1962 attack of the Pensacola sea serpent, sea monster, sea serpent. That's up for debate. But let's get into it. I'm excited to talk about this one. I lost my notes. There's my notes. Um, so March 24th, 1962, a guy by the name, well, 16-year-old by the name of Edward McCleary, was approached by one of his friends saying, "Hey, let's go check out the shipwreck here," right? And he goes, "Yeah, sure, why not? Because that's what you do as a kid in Florida." And they hopped aboard a rubber raft and started sailing out towards this shipwreck. Now, like I said, it was Mr. McCleary, it was his friend Warren Sally, his friend Eric Rule, I think is how you pronounce it, his buddy Larry Bill, and his friend Bradford Rice. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Um, Larry Bill sounds like a very made up name.
why? Because it's two first names.
Yeah. Really? Larry Bill?
Danica Patrick.
I mean, I suppose that there are people with
Right.
two first names, but it just sounds. I mean, Bradford Rice also doesn't sound very.
Well, so okay, are these people dead or not? Like, did do we know that? Are these people really dead? Are these people that were alive that are dead?
Uh, I mean, you just jumped right to the end of the story here, Tony. I
I'm
don't.
sorry.
I mean,
I just gotta shut the fuck up. You just do your thing, baby.
you
Sorry.
got to learn how to tell a story here,
I
okay?
I get so
Mr. Phil
excited.
Baker.
That's it. All over the
How does the
place.
guy that
Sorry.
came up with the genius fucking space werewolf just jump right to the end here? Come on, you can do better than that.
It's a 20-minute movie because I couldn't wait to get through the whole 90 minutes. I was like, and that's over. Right, we got shit to do. I had to take a dump.
Right. Short filmmaker, I forgot.
I don't like the marathons. I like the sprints. You know.
Hey, either way, you get it done, and that's what matters.
Okay.
So whatever. So they aboard this rubber raft, and they get on there, and they're heading towards the USS Massachusetts, which you can still see. To this day, it's like a partially fucking. It's a boat, right? It's a fucking boat that's abandoned in the middle of the ocean. So, I mean, what else can I say about it? People go and they do something called skin diving, which I thought was a sexual maneuver, and it's not. Uh, basically, I mean, you just go out without any type of equipment. You kind of, fuck around with the abandoned boat, and then you go on your way. So while they're out there, okay, they end up experiencing some very inclement weather. All right. And, it starts storming out essentially. I mean, they all had kind of talked about it and were like, initially they're like, should we go back? Should we maybe not do this? And they're like, nah, fuck it. We'll be able to get to the boat, right? We'll be able to get back. Well, that wasn't the case. They had a storm hit them and they were like fucked, right? This fucking raft. Like they were fucking screwed. I mean, the waves were getting so atrocious that, I mean, they were coming up over the raft. Some of them falling into the water. I mean, it was a bad situation. They all were like convinced that they were going to die. And remember, these are teenage boys, aged 14 to 17, right? And so they were like convinced that like this was how they went. They were going to die that day. They had tried to attach their raft to one of those things out there. Oh my God, what's it called, Pato? That floats out in the water.
Bowie.
No, Bowie. Thank you. And they failed at that because they are, again, teenage boys. They're not very good at what they do. And, they're just trying to kind of navigate this storm that was hit with them in the water. Well, the storm starts to like clear up and it kind of starts to roll out, and hey, they're all intact. All five boys are there. And as it starts to clear up, behind the storm comes this really thick, ominous fog. And they said it was strange. Well, he said it was strange because everything got very quiet and very still. And the fog had like noises approach. Now I don't know if these noises are some type of implication because spoiler alert, there's a sea monster. We know that. I don't know if he was implying that the noises were coming from a creature or if it was just noises like again it was so eerily quiet that it was just kind of the ambiance of the I have no idea. But because everything is kind of calming down, they're all kind of calming down. And then with the fog comes what they all end up seeing rise up out of the water a 10-foot creature of some sort. Now, what McCleary describes is he described it as just a telephone pole with a bulb on it. Okay. And it had two small eyes. And then eventually, while it was standing up out of the water, it had like bent forward and went underneath. And at that point in time, I don't believe it had attacked their raft or whatever initially, but they all decided that their best course of action was to jump into the water and swim the fuck away. Okay. They were like, we're going to swim to shore. Fuck this. They were done. All right. They just got out of the fucking storm. Then now there's a fucking monster after them. They're leaving. So they all jump ship and start, swimming ashore. They just abandon the raft. Um, McCleary actually saw the creature pull one of the guys under. Eric Rule, he saw him. He saw the creature come up out of the water, mouth agape, and then like land on him like it was either pulling him underwater, biting him in one big swallow. He heard Warren Sally yell out, "Oh, it's got Brad!" And he didn't stop swimming. He just kept going to the shore. And then he doesn't really remember what happened after that. He ended up waking up at like a Navy base hospital thing right there on the shore.
Mm-hmm.
And then, he decided he had none of his friends. None of his friends were there. And he told them what had happened. And one of the naval officers there, he didn't say anything about not believing him. He was just like, oh, yeah, the water's weird. There's weird things out there. And like left it at
The
that.
sea holds many secrets. And now we know it. The sea has some terrible secrets.
Has some terrible secrets.
And now I know how she manages to keep them.
Well,
Right.
apparently. So, of course, the boys will kind of get more into the other not so lucky winners in this case. But this story had come into Fate magazine in 1965. And, this is where it came from. And,
Mm.
people have kind of speculated on its authenticity for a very long time. So, those are the facts as we know the facts. Okay. Anything that you want to say about that part of the story, Pato?
No.
Okay. Now, let's get into some other things of interest that I had found just trying to research and find, the beginning and the end. Allegedly, and I couldn't find exact proof, but allegedly, one of the bodies of one of the boys was found. So one of them did end up washing ashore. The other three were never found. I have not been able to find anything that specifically ties these guys to a death. There's no obituaries, there's no newspaper articles, there's like nothing that lines up with this guy's story that has it that solidifies it. Like, yes, this guy was out to sea and, four of his friends got killed, whether by a sea monster or something else. Who knows?
Well, I mean, okay. So it says that March 26th, 1962, the Ocala Star Banner ran an article about a Pensacola sea monster that attacked 5 teenage boys.
Okay. So
So there
then
was it did appear somewhere before Fate magazine,
okay. Well, that's good. That's some good reporting there, Pato.
but
Um,
it didn't necessarily go into like his whole story. And that was what the Fate magazine
yes,
one was
actually,
from.
I'm sorry. There were articles about boys not being attacked by a sea monster, but drowning. That was what I had found, was that there was some type of incident, but it didn't actually mention them being attacked by a monster. Now that article you're talking about, I'm sure is out there. I just didn't happen across that one.
Wait,
It had said that they
Yes.
had got hit with a storm and, 4 of the 5 boys drowned.
Right. So the piece was titled Four Teenage Skin Divers Still Missing After Raft is Abandoned. And it reprints the text of the story here. And you're right. It makes no mention of the sea monster. It just says about, but so the kids really died.
Right.
Like that part was true. Cause I know that was my original question
And
was
yes,
that, yeah.
and I
Okay.
would say that, yes, just based off of the bits and pieces of information that's out there, it is my personal and professional opinion that whoever these kids were, they definitely died.
Right. Okay.
Now, what are those circumstances surrounding that death? Well, that's a really good question.
Right.
When McCleary wrote this to Fate magazine, and I had considered reading it all here on the show because it's not a very long story, and I didn't want this episode to be cut short. But I think we're good. We're good at talking. We know what we're doing. I was going to read the whole thing because I just kind of wanted you guys to get an idea of how he wrote about this. Um, Look it up. Go. I mean, really, I will post an article directly to it so that you can read it for yourself. It is very cinematic. Pat, did you actually read what he had written?
I couldn't find it anywhere.
Okay.
And I went to look it up, and every link that I found linked it back to Amazon where you can't buy it, which I thought was
Oh, I
weird.
see. I see. I found a PDF of it. I'll send it over. I should
Okay.
I should have asked beforehand. But it is very cinematic. Like even leading up to like not even the creature itself, just like the whole details. Like it sounds like an author writing a book. It doesn't sound real. It doesn't sound like, hey, this weird thing happened to me and here's what you need to know about it. I mean, he goes into very detailed information about every little thing. Um, which does seem odd because we can't just go, hey, this guy made this up. Because clearly people lost their lives. So clearly something happened. Now, was he a part of
Yeah.
that? Was this an actual, I mean, who knows? But I was able to kind of find out some more information about Edward McCleary's later life. And he did actually succumb really badly to drug addiction. Like, this really fucked with him. And he ended up leading a very nomadic life, just never really did anything with himself. And, who knows? Maybe it's because he was just a piece of shit anyway. I don't know. Maybe it's because all his friends were eaten by a sea monster, you know?
Yeah, how do you make friends after that?
Right.
Like,
Right. All of your fucking friends die, no thank you. And he probably never went out into the water again, and you're in fucking Florida of all places. So, I mean, my God, how do you cope?
right.
Drugs, clearly. That's the only way.
I mean, my kids have not my as a child, as a friend, my as a child growing up, my friends were not eaten by a sea monster, and I've clearly
Sure.
turned to drugs anyway. So
That's true. Right.
I can only imagine if there had been sea monsters involved in my adolescence,
It'd,
where I would end up today.
it'd killed you.
But they talk. I saw that where they're like, he's succumbed to drugs and alcohol in 2017. It's like, but motherfucker, he was born in like 1948, so it's not
Yeah.
like
Right.
he didn't have a decent run. Like that's it. I'm gonna do the math real quick. That's 69 years. I
Yeah.
mean, okay, it's not like you died at a tragically young age, like the kids on the raft with him. You
Right.
know, you live to be
Well,
about 70. I don't know what life expectancy is in the U.S., but I feel like it's about that.
that's a little bit longer, but whatever. He was
Right,
he was now it's a little bit longer. So that's about right. That's not terrible.
right,
But he maintained his story. People said that he maintained his story all the way
yeah,
up until the day that he died. And so a couple of things to note is that a lot of people have analyzed this situation. A lot of people are in agreement that this happened. Not that they were attacked by a sea monster, but that Ed went out there with his buddies and Ed was the only one to come back.
hmm,
So, what the hell did happen? Okay. So, here are some fast facts. Basically, what Ed is saying, whatever this thing looked like, if there was a thing that he saw, it looked like Nessie, right? Right?
hmm,
The big long neck. Here's what we know about plesiosaurs now. Here's why we know the surgeon's photo is kind of bullshit, is because plesiosaurs cannot hold their head up over water like that. Their necks don't bend that way. It's not possible for them to get that kind of crane position with their neck. They just don't do that. So could this be something entirely different? I suppose so. Um, One theory that somebody brought up is definitely a little less boring, but well, maybe not. Depends on who you are. Is that Ed's friends all drowned because guess what? They were out there on a fucking rubber raft when a goddamn storm hit, and they all just drowned. And instead of Ed just accepting the fact that they drowned, his trauma tied this fantastical story to it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and just rewrote details completely because it was something because he watched his fucking friends drown at 16. Pat, what do you think about that one?
So that's where you know, if I watch my friends die, and now granted, this is me, but I don't see that propelling me to write a story and then seek to get it published. You know what I mean? Like if I saw my friends die in a car accident, I don't know if I would necessarily feel the need to rewrite history in the first place to make it the byproduct of some kind of supernatural happening, right? And then I don't know if I would take it a step further to write it out. And from what you said, write it out well and then seek publication.
Well, so that is saying that, I mean, what you're saying right there, right, is like if he were to have faked it, sure. I don't think that he faked it either. But
No, those people really died, and he really bear witness to it. So what it really comes down to is either he witnessed a sea monster eat his fucking friends, and then he chose to write about it and get it published because he wanted to get the truth out there, as unbelievable as it sounds. Or he watched his friends just drown, and he chose to concoct this fucking asinine story about a sea monster eating them, and then chose to take it a step further and get it published, even though it's not like he was facing charges or anything.
well, so
Like
hold
he,
on. But hold on. So that's the point you're skipping over with this theory. It's not a choice. He was traumatized, so that is how he remembers the events, is that they were eaten by a sea monster when there really was not a sea monster. The sea monster is very real for Ed, but it didn't actually happen that way because that's what trauma does.
oh, if to make that distinction, I think you'd have to bring in a smarter man than I. You know what I mean? Like I don't, I understand like screen memory, the concept behind screen memories, and sometimes trauma does this to a certain person, but it does. Here's the thing: it doesn't do it to everybody. And whether or not he was one of those people or he had the kind of disposition to where it would have done that to him, I don't know. I don't know. I
So
mean,
what
that's interesting because I mean, well, your whole, especially to consider in the light of the thing you're working on about trauma and the paranormal. Um, you know, I maybe it is trauma based. Maybe his mind did invent this explanation because he couldn't rationalize what was happening around him.
now I'm going to
Maybe if
say, hold on.
yeah. Okay, all right. I'm just gonna
I'm going
shut
to
up.
say this. It's okay. I'm not telling you that this is what I believe. I'm just presenting what the theories are that are out there.
Sure.
And this is one of the theories. Now, one of the supporting factors to these theories is that one of the bodies was retrieved and it didn't have any markings on it. The cause of death that was ruled there was just that he drowned. Now, again, this is alleged. I didn't see any official documentation that this was in fact what happened. Then again, it was 1962. I don't believe we really had official documentation of, we didn't have autopsies like we do now. So I
Hmm.
don't think that that information's even, I don't think we're even able to find that information. However, from sources, from alleged, trusted, credible sources that I can't vouch for, supposedly one of the bodies was found. It had washed ashore. There were no markings on it, and they had ruled the cause of death simply a drowning.
Hmm.
So, in relation to the trauma theory, that's where they kind of got that idea from, was that again, Ed may have thought, really believed, he, up until the day they died, that he saw a sea monster attack his friends, but it could have potentially been that it wasn't actually that it was
Hmm.
just his friends drowning and trauma fucked him up and you know. I've never watched four of my friends drown in front of me before, so I don't know. I can't say, you know, what happened. Just like you were saying, we don't know.
Mm.
But that is simply one of the theories that's out there. So um, it sounds like you don't buy that personally.
That he invented it? I mean, I guess I don't. I would have to. I would have to know the person better. I mean, as far as their disposition goes, I mean, obviously it was a traumatic event that haunted him for the rest of his life. Whether or not he would choose to fabricate this supernatural explanation, I mean, I've had that thrown in my face with my own stuff before, or I mean, that whole story,
Sure.
and it's the least likely explanation for everything that I've heard, where I just invented some kind of shit because I didn't want to deal with, like, somehow that's more comforting. You know what I mean? Which I think, honestly, if you listen to the episode of Conspire Theory I did with Chris a couple of weeks ago, we talk about that. Whereas somehow, like, what they're saying is that watching his four of his friends drowned wasn't horrific enough. Somehow, to comfort himself, he invented a sea monster because that was easier to deal with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's the explanation. Like, is that really how it works? Where it's easier to deal with four of your friends drowning if there's a sea monster doing it?
Yeah.
Like, maybe that's one of those things where you really have to interview the person. Like, I don't know. I don't necessarily know if that explanation is more comforting for a child at night, to think that a sea monster did it. If the sea monster didn't do it, if it was just they were drunk on a raft and they fucking died. Um, I don't know. I don't know. But I think the whole, like, false memory stuff is very tricky, and that's when you kind of have to, like, we know that they exist, we know memory can be fucked with, and we know that different witness trauma does things to a witness's memory and all this stuff. I guess it's on the table, but I don't know.
Yeah. You put two trauma experiencers that experience the same trauma together in a room, right? You interview them about a particular event. You can have two totally separate answers. And how do you know who's right and who's not right?
Right.
We've done a lot of study on this. Oh, okay, I have done a lot of study on this, but just as humans in general, as humanity, we've done a lot of studies on this. So we do know that this is a thing that can happen. But you kind of walk this weird thin line when it comes to things like the paranormal, to try to decipher what's trauma based and what isn't, and which one comes first, the trauma or the egg, right? I mean, you know is it that experiencing these things cause trauma? Who knows? um Totally different subject for a different day in general, but that is one of the theories put forth for Ed McCleary and his encounter. Another one is that Ed and his friends were attacked by an animal, a known animal. It is possible that they were attacked by a colossal squid, and
Whoa.
what they had seen up out of the water, because like I said, plesiosaurs can't do that with their neck. We know that. So what they had actually seen coming out of the water was a tentacle.
Ooh.
And he had also described he'd also described this horrible stench like dead fish before this thing approached. Like it just kind of filled the air, and which is very odd. But in the case of a squid, not really, because these squids use this particular gas. Oh my gosh, I should have wrote the name down. I didn't. I do this. I'm sorry. But they do. They use this particular gas that messes with their buoyancy, so it makes it so that, like, because they're typically deep sea creatures, they could come to the surface by releasing said gas in order to whatever it is that they do. Like, so they do utilize that. So is maybe that's our culprit, and that's why, when he was seeing his friends getting pulled under and stuff like that, well, it's because it's reaching with its tentacles to grab on and pull down. Maybe that's why the one boy that did wash up washed up because in the attack, the creature, the squid, grabbed him, let go for whatever reason, and then just lost track of the body and didn't fuck with it anymore. He eventually
Mm-hmm.
came up and floated ashore. Um, that's also equally as fucking horrifying as a monster, right? What what you would classify that as? I mean, it's just a regular animal attack. We know those things exist, but we certainly didn't know they existed in 1962. That's a new discovery for us.
Right, and it's enormous and monstrous enough to where in that heat you cannot know what you're seeing and you can misidentify it and fucking
Well, right, already fucking horrified because you just survived a storm,
right.
and then you have this weird fucking tentacle come out and you can't see it. It's kind of far in the fog, even, he mints that there's fog. So maybe he was just kind of, but I mean, he did explicitly say that it had eyes, but he said that it had two small eyes, but it could be that his brain filled in a blank space there. He saw the one eye. Squids do have the one eye. Actually, they have the largest eyeball in the entire world. So, I mean, maybe that is where the trauma is kind of rewriting a little bit. It's just those little tiny details because they were in fact attacked by something, but it wasn't unexplainable. It was
Mm.
something that we know is very real, unfortunately. you a 10 feet long tentacle, that's easy for a squid, as opposed to a 10-foot long neck of a
Are
plant.
they off the coast of Florida though? Like, is that like where they hang out?
I mean, why not? They could be.
Yeah, I don't know.
Fuck. I mean, what is there fucking police in the ocean? Like, you can't cross here in Florida.
Well,
Like,
no, but I mean, there's certain animals that hang out in certain hemispheres and shit. Like, they're not. You can't just get anything anywhere. You can't go get camels in fucking Idaho, right? Like, they live in the desert.
because camels can't cross the ocean to get to the fucking.
I know, but
But a great
I'm
white
just.
shark could potentially, if it wanted to, swim around the whole fucking continent and back. I mean, there's nothing stopping it.
All right.
Is it going to live that long to do that? I don't fucking know. You're a fish. What are you going to do? You're just going to swim your whole life. We're not talking like squids that live. They don't live in the lakes. They're not making that kind of trek. They already live in the ocean. Fuck, where do they live in the ocean? It don't matter. I'm not going to
Mhm.
the ocean. That's what I know. You give a fuck if they swim around Florida or not. I'm not going there. you know, that's no, that's a very valid question. Honestly, I don't know. Let me look it up real quick.
Mm.
But you go ahead and talk about that for a second.
Uh, yeah, I mean, it could be. I think I saw something else that said that they thought it was like a. There was definitely the possibility that it was a um, domestic sea creature, something that wasn't necessarily that exotic, right? It could have been
Sure.
something that was native to the area that ate the kids. And I had two stories that I looked at, and yeah, the picture that they draw definitely looks like Cecil, the C6 sea serpent from a children's cartoon that had recently aired the months before. Um, what else?
Well, while you're reading
Scrolling through the fucking.
the one,
Here's another interesting thing that I heard um, brought up was that they thought that they were a bubble of methane gas could have caused the incident, right? And this is one of those things that gets brought out from time to time, especially with the Bermuda Triangle. Have you ever heard them bring this up before?
yeah.
That pockets of methane gas get released from the ocean floor, and they come up, and they'll sink boats and they'll sink um, planes and shit
Oh
in the
yeah.
ocean.
Yeah, I've
Hello.
heard that.
Yeah, so that they brought this one out for this story as well, which kind of sounds like the swamp gas of ufology. And the methane gas can also cause hallucinations, so maybe the monster was a hallucination. Which
Right.
I don't know. I didn't really pay that one too much mind. It sounded kind of bullshit. Oh, the other theory is that the boys have encountered a North Atlantic right whale, which would be a terrifying encounter from a raft. So,
Well, what I did find was this article from National Geographic in 2011 where a giant squid was had come ashore to die, had beached itself.
mhm.
So I mean, and
Where?
that's in Florida.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
there you
so
go.
that is a possibility. Um, because again, they're in the ocean. They don't have you know road stops or and
There's no curfew.
it's no fucking passport check. You
Right.
give a fuck. You're a giant squid. You do whatever you want. But of course, note the difference. This was a giant squid, not a colossal squid, which get up to like 40 feet.
Mhm.
And there could be some that even get even larger than that. They're so rare we don't see them.
Right.
So I mean, I don't know, Pato. My money is on a fucking a colossal squid. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there was a creature involved, but it was just a misidentified regular sea monster. Um, that's believable, you know.
Yeah, I agree. The North Atlantic right whale is kind of weird looking. It's fun. Check it out, but I don't see it, holding 10 feet up out of the water.
Hmm.
Which we also know that people are terrible at measuring things. So he could have underestimated or overestimated. We don't know.
Oh yeah, if something like that happened and you were to ask me how
15.
long or how big it was, I wouldn't have fucking known. You know,
Well,
like,
I've had plenty of nights like that.
yeah, my definition of 6 inches is probably completely different than
Yeah,
yours.
exactly.
But I think that that's still, if you do go with that route, if you do accept that explanation that he misidentified something that was a just regular sea creature, it also it's still, he still took the time to write that story and publish it, you know, which is an interesting thing to do.
Right. So, how did you
It's
find out about Fate magazine? Was he already a reader?
potentially, yeah. I mean, that's it wasn't. This was a different time. It was a different culture. There wasn't the internet. These
Right.
magazines existed, but it was kind of rare. Um, and for somebody to take the time and initiative to do something like this, it's an odd thing to do.
I mean, I
You know.
suppose it could. I mean, I suppose with networking, like you said, there was no internet back then. Maybe he had a friend who knew a guy who always had these weird magazines who had similar stories in it. Um, who knows? But it just seems so pointed. And like I said, when you read it, it is extremely detailed. And maybe that's just because the guy had spent the last 3 years. Remember, now at this point, he's only 19. You remember what the fuck you were doing at 19? I don't, because I was doing a bunch of drugs, so I have no fucking clue what was going on. Um, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, maybe it's just that he'd spent the last 3 years really thinking about this because his fucking friends were attacked by a monster, which is something that thankfully you and I and probably I'm sure at least a good portion of the people listening to the show have never had to deal with,
Yeah.
and if you have had to deal with that, call us and tell us about it. 773-59 weird. Because that would be really interesting to hear about. But yeah, like I said, I think that to me the colossal squid makes the most sense. Um, you know,
So he did survive something. He just,
yeah, I think
yeah,
that something definitely happened. I think there's enough evidence to back that up. I can say pretty confidently, about a good 95% sure that his friends died on a raft that day.
yeah.
And I do think that trauma can definitely rewrite your brain, especially in fucked up situations like that. However, I think it rewrote it in different ways, and I think that if it had any rewriting at all, it was just simply in some details about the appearance, which is something that again we see constantly with these encounters. Um, and I think that they were attacked by a big old squid. I don't even think it was probably trying to attack them on purpose. I think had they stayed on the raft, they would have been fine.
I don't know.
But they were already, freaking out considering what they had just lived through and wanted to get the fuck out of there. So
Man, and if you want to hear my own family's experience with a situation like this, listen to this month's Weird World
a,
on
si-
Hawaii,
a situation like this, a situation exactly like this.
where people that don't belong going on rafts in the middle of the fucking ocean, go on rafts in the middle of the fucking ocean,
Yeah.
and bad shit happens.
Yeah. I mean, like, listen, first of all,
Know know your fucking role, man. Stay in your lane. Don't.
right, first of all, we breathe air. We're not meant to go into the fucking ocean, okay?
Right.
Second of
The,
all,
the ocean's big and it's a serial killer.
sure is. Second of all, if you have to go, if you absolutely just cannot help it, you were a mermaid in your past life and you need to go into the ocean, don't fucking do it on a raft. At least have some type of motor involved in your situation, at minimum. Don't fucking go out there. You're gonna go out to the ocean in a raft? Are you serious? You fucking kidding me?
Well, that to me
The balls
is
on these people.
I talked about this once online, and I got accused of being a white nationalist. Can you imagine what propelled early people to get on rafts and just sail into the fucking horizon?
What's
What
out there?
the fuck? Yes.
People that
And
had no will to live.
that is something that's why and what I said online that started fucking so much Facebook drama is I think that is why America will always be the leader in space exploration, because we are a country founded by people that were crazy enough to get on that fucking boat and go over there. Let's just go over there and let's ride in this boat for 3-4 months and get what's over there, and we're gonna go to this distant place, right? All of us, none of us were born here, right? We're all descendant from people that got on a boat and just fucking came here. And I made that comment online in regards to space exploration, right? Because now we need people that are going to get on these ships and fly out into space and see what's out there, right? It's the same, it takes the same kind of explorer gene, right? But of course, there's some people in this country that, yeah, they might have spent 3 or 4 months on a boat getting here, but it wasn't by choice. And, I guess I didn't take that into consideration when I talked about how America is filled with great explorers. But sorry, I know a fair amount of people were slaves as well. But yeah, there's certain people in mankind's history that would do shit, that would get on a raft and just go explore. How the fuck did they find Hawaii? Speaking of which, and if you want to hear the answer to that, listen to this month's Weird World, available on our Patreon. But like, just think about the fact that when we got to Hawaii, people had already been there. What? It's in the middle of the fucking ocean.
Yeah. Well, yes. We
Who
think,
got to Hawaii first?
well,
That's nuts. People with like less technology than we had. People on rafts and sailboats like Moana, those little where you got enough for her and a chicken, and they're fucking sailing out into shit. Like, that's nuts.
people
People used to
didn't
do that shit.
didn't live on. I mean, people didn't go to Hawaii. Somebody was already. They had always been there. Like,
Right.
there's the whole, Pangea, and everything was once connected. Now it's
And then
broken apart.
when Hawaii separated from California, there was motherfuckers that just were over there that day.
We happen to be over there.
And
Yeah.
they were like, I guess this is where we live now.
Fuck it. Let's make it some
Can't wait for the fresh water to kick in. Because sure.
This
Sure.
shit is too salty for me.
Right. I'm sure
Yeah.
they figured it out.
I mean,
Yeah.
we
I
don't
don't
have
know.
the answer to that. Yeah. Now
Anyway, those 5 kids from Florida in the 60s were not those people. Is my point.
no, they were not those people. They were dumb
Yes.
fucking kids in 1960s that wanted to go fucking check out a sunken ship already. Like, what the fuck? Like, this whole big ass fucking battle this fucking battleship is out here, and it met a cruel fate. Let's go out there on a fucking raft.
Right.
Smart.
Because the battleship didn't survive these waters, but our raft will.
We will, because I'm a teenager and I'm indestructible, because that's what teenagers think, even in the 1960s. It's just mankind's plight is being a fucking teenager, being a kid. Um, but people do it. Other people do it that are also adults. Pato knows about it. Again, he talks about it on this month's episode of Weird World. So it happens, but you're not going to catch me out there. I'm a dumb motherfucker, but I'm not dumb like that. I just I have read too many stories about people getting, attacked by colossal squid now, and exactly one, and that was enough for me. Fucking, I'm not
Yeah.
doing that. But that
A
makes
man's got to. A man's got to know his limits. You know what I mean?
right, right, and I'm not here for it.
I crashed my car once, and my buddy, who was a police officer, was like, "I just reported stolen," and I was like, "No, you know, no, I don't do that kind of stuff." He's like, "Well, your insurance." I'm like, "Listen, there's certain crimes I'll commit, but insurance fraud isn't one of them. I know that's way outside my realm. I'll fuck that up."
Yeah.
you know, uh, you know, vehicular destruction of private property, whatever. Yeah, that's a pedo thing. Insurance fraud, I'll fuck that up. I just know I'm not
Pushing
gonna
the
go
little,
there.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you got to know your lane. Uh, Exploring the fucking ocean on a raft, that's not my thing.
The
No.
squid theory also is supported by what the fucking naval dude said to old little Eddie, um, about the sea having its secrets. Because honestly, Pato, at that time, we know now that the colossal squid's responsible for a lot of deep sea encounters or middle of the sea encounters of these strange creatures. Like, we at that time, these things were monsters. They weren't
Yeah.
recognized by us. And so, I mean, even that matches up that they knew that there was a squid fucking hanging around out there, and the kid's like, it's a monster. And they're like, yeah, we've seen the monster too, but nobody gives a shit because we sound nuts because it's fucking a 50-foot long fucking squid. But
Well, even
it just matches up to everything.
yeah, and well, that's the thing with the sea is that you can claim to see whatever you want, but then it's gonna go swim away, and then you're like, well, it's not there anymore.
Yeah.
We can't swim after it because we can't go down that deep.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so it's
What are you
like
gonna do? Right. You can't, especially on a fucking raft. You're not getting down there on a raft.
that's why I hate to be all James Cameron about shit, but imagine if we spent the amount of time and effort and money in space exploration that we spend in deep sea exploration. You know, because there's more deep sea to explore than there is. I'm not saying, well, no, outer space is infinite. Deep sea is very very finite, but we still don't really know what's all down there. We can't keep tabs on it, and you know, I think that we should because sometimes the shit that's down there can come up and get us.
It's not as mysterious as people give it credit for. Like, people say we've explored more space than we have of the ocean. That's actually not true
No, it's
at
not.
all. It's ridiculous. But you can't explore more. Like you said, space is infinite, and ocean is not. So, I mean, but there is a lot that we don't know about it. There's a lot that we don't know about our own land. There's just so much space. We can't be everywhere at once. It's just not possible.
Yeah.
We do explore the oceans and things like that, but I mean, what are we going to learn? Honestly, what are we going to learn the deeper down we go, or the more things that we discover? Not a whole lot. Not anything that's really going to propel us in any crazy scientific way. So, I mean, it's kind of a waste of money. I mean, at that point, it's just a really expensive hobby.
It is, and when you look at it, like, what happens if you discover there's a really fucking scary big fish down there? People aren't going to want to just go on in the ocean anymore. Like, you're not gonna find anything that's gonna increase like ocean tourism and increase cruise lines. You know what I mean? Like, all it's gonna do is discourage people not to travel via the ocean or something. Like there's nothing good is gonna come of it.
Yeah.
You're not gonna, unless you develop some kind of technology where you could stay at a hotel on the bottom of the ocean. But I would never do that. I
No.
would never do that in a million fucking years. So you're not going to do that.
Are there any
Yeah.
horror movies about that yet? There should be,
Well,
right?
The Abyss, Deep 6 9. What's that Kristen Stewart one? I mean, there's plenty of stuff that happens like underwater.
Right, but are they like staying at like a resort underwater and then shit goes wrong and like,
Um,
because if not, there should be. Like, what the fuck? That's a missed
there's a
opportunity.
couple. Yeah, there's a couple sci-fi movies. They have like five-headed shark movies, and
Yeah.
they're usually staying at some underwater like research lab off the coast of Hawaii.
We don't even need like a fucking like a monster. Like the fact that like you are in a deep sea fucking dome, you are underwater and you spring a fucking leak
Oh no 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 no
and it leaks onto the radio.
no 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 no
Right. And
no
you're
that's
just
no
trying to figure out how the fuck you're gonna get out. I mean,
no no
that's the
no
monster. Water.
no.
That's what we need. I mean, it's as simple as that. What the fuck? Cell phones don't work underwater, you know? There's no cell towers down there. How you getting out? How you getting out of there? You're gonna swim your way out, and then at the end there, you know, you think everybody's gonna get
You
out.
explode. Yeah.
You well, that's true. You'd explode first, or you encounter a colossal squid, and it eats all your friends except for you, and then nobody believes your story. They think that you killed them. So
I just don't fuck with the water.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think the more that we do things like this, the more that is the lesson of the day. Um,
The more episodes of this show we the more episodes of this show we do, the more stuff I find to be afraid of. Like I'm not afraid of quicksand anymore, but now I'm afraid of like the water, the ocean.
just stay away from it, you know.
All right.
Yeah, and next week's also about a water monster, kind of, sort of.
Wonderful. I can't wait.
I bet, but this one happened right here in Ohio, so you're just not safe anywhere. It doesn't matter if there's water; you're just fucked. I mean, my God, turn your faucets off and don't look at them sideways. It's the water itself that's the fucking monster. That's the moral of the story. But anyway, yeah, it's a fun story. I think we've said about as much as we can about it. I enjoyed it. Pato, did you enjoy this story?
I enjoyed this story. I thought it was good.
It's a good one. It's a good one. So, with that being said, guys, we'll see you back here next Wednesday.